showed up today in support of reproductive freedom in New Hampshire. My name is Christina Warner Hamilton, and I'm here with Reproductive Equity Now, an organization working in New Hampshire and across New England to ensure and protect access to the full spectrum of reproductive health care for everyone, no matter where they live, how much money they make, or who they are. Today, the Senate Judiciary Committee is scheduled to hold a public hearing beginning at 1:40 p.m., where lawmakers will take up and hear public testimony on Senate Bill 551, a shield law for reproductive health care access. We are here today to rally our support around the bill and to tell Judiciary Committee members, as well as all lawmakers here in New Hampshire, that our providers and patients deserve to feel safe and they deserve to be protected by a shield law. This bill protects patients and providers from out-of-state legal investigations, lawsuits, or intimidation related to reproductive health care services, including abortion care. In states where they are banning and restricting abortion, we are seeing other reproductive health care services come under attack, including contraception and assisted reproduction. For example, when a court ruling halted IVF care in Alabama in 2024, a patient may have chosen to travel to New Hampshire to receive care to begin their family. Under a New Hampshire shield law, that patient and their Granite State provider would be protected. Last year, South Carolina introduced legislation to redefine legal contraception to exclude methods such as IUDs and emergency contraception. If this law were to pass in South Carolina and a patient traveled to New Hampshire to receive an IUD, that Granite State provider would be protected. Nationwide, our clinicians and patients are facing criminal and civil investigations for providing or accessing reproductive health care services. In this moment, it is critical for New Hampshire to assert that reproductive health care is legally protected within our state borders. Our doctors, nurses, and clinicians must be able to do the jobs they are trained to do to provide evidence-based, compassionate care without fear of harassment or punishment from politicians, bad actors in other states, and those who have never stepped foot in the Granite State and do not represent our values. This bill protects patients and providers through 6 key provisions. Specifically, it first affirms that accessing, providing, or helping someone access legal reproductive health care in New Hampshire is legally protected, full stop. It ensures that New Hampshire law and only New Hampshire law governs New Hampshire's care. Our health care, our call. It would prohibit state, county, and municipal officials from cooperating with out-of-state investigations, information requests, or abusive litigation meant to punish or deter lawful reproductive health care that occurred here in the Granite State. It prevents the extradition of a New Hampshire resident to another state for charges stemming from legally protected reproductive health care here in New Hampshire. It protects providers from professional retaliation for simply providing lawful care in New Hampshire, and finally gives people a tool to fight back. It allows any provider or patient targeted by abusive out-of-state litigation the opportunity to take civil action within 3 years. Overall, the principle behind this bill is rooted in common sense. If lawful reproductive health care is provided or accessed in New Hampshire, that care is legally protected, plain and simple. No out-of-state politician or ideological actor should be able to override New Hampshire law or dictate what health care looks like here in the Granite State. A shield law is how we affirm our sovereignty as a state, protect our healthcare system from political interference, and draw a clear line. New Hampshire healthcare is governed by New Hampshire and New Hampshire values. Since the fall of Roe v. Wade, 22 states across the country have enacted shield laws to protect patients and providers from out-of-state attacks, including every state in New England besides New Hampshire. This leaves New Hampshire providers and patients more exposed to intimidation, harassment, and legal threats, and it puts our state at a disadvantage when it comes to retaining healthcare professionals who deserve certainty and protection. New Hampshire residents deserve safeguards when accessing care. We should not ask our providers to shoulder legal risks simply for doing their jobs, and we should not allow intimidation or political gamemanship from other states to determine who can access care here at home. We need shield law protections for our patients, for our providers, and to protect New Hampshire's values. This bill does just that. Thank you. Now I have the honor to introduce Senator Deborah Altschiller, who is the lead sponsor on this bill.
Thank you. All right, good morning. Thank you all for being here. I am State Senator Deborah Altschiller, representing the towns of District 24, Exeter, Greenland, Hampton, Hampton Falls, Northampton, Rye, and Stratham. First, I want to thank Minority Leader Alexis Simpson for joining us today and standing with us, and also, she was here.
She's coming back.
Okay, she was,
Yeah.
okay. And also we have Deputy Minority Leader Laura Chelerski with us here today. She'll be right back. I want to recognize Senate Minority Leader Rebecca Perkins-Cloca as well for her unwavering support on this bill. She really wanted to be here this morning but faced an unavoidable scheduling conflict. And I really want to give special recognition to Christina, thank you, and her team at Reproductive Equity Now. This bill would not be able to come to fruition without their expertise and their commitment. As a lawmaker, my job is to protect the livelihoods, freedoms, and futures of Granite Staters. This means protecting our fundamental right to make personal health care decisions without political interference. Period. My legislative public service began in 2016 in the House of Representatives, and I began my service in the Senate in 2022. And in all that time, every single year, we have faced relentless attacks on reproductive freedom right here in our state. And let me be blunt, things are just not getting any better. With an anti-abortion majority controlling our state legislature, and an administration in Washington that has made their hostility to reproductive rights crystal clear, the threats are escalating. The need to fight back has never been more urgent. And that is exactly why I introduced Senate Bill 551, the SHIELD Law for reproductive health care access. Because we refuse to play defense forever. Yes, we will continue fighting off attacks from those who want to strip away our bodily autonomy. But we are also going on offense. We're building fortress-level protections around the rights that we still have. This bill draws a clear line in the sand. It sends an unmistakable message that New Hampshire does not tolerate out-of-state actors. We're building, trying to reach into our state to control our health care. Not now, not ever. This law affirms that New Hampshire, and only New Hampshire, decides how reproductive health care is provided and accessed within our borders. Our providers should practice medicine according to their standards, best care practices, and New Hampshire law. Our patients should be receiving care according to New Hampshire law. Full stop. Now, this might seem like common sense. And it seems like it's common sense because it is common sense. But if this administration has taught us anything, it's that common sense and decency are not enough to guarantee your rights anymore. You have to fight for them. You have to codify them. And you have to defend them with the force of law. Make no mistake about what's happening across this country right now. Politicians, attorneys general, and judges in anti-abortion states are actively attempting to reach across state lines and control abortion care in other states where it remains legal, like here in New Hampshire. They're tracking people's travel. They're seeking to criminalize patients for seeking care and providers for delivering it. They're threatening clinicians' professional licenses. They have literally created bounty hunter systems to enforce abortion bans. I feel gross just saying that, but I have to say it again. Bounty hunters. Bounty hunters to control women's medical decisions. That is not who we are in New Hampshire, and we will not allow that to happen here. This law ensures that our state stands behind our providers who are delivering lawful, ethical care and the patients whose lives depend on them. It prohibits New Hampshire officials from participating in witch hunts coming from other states, and it bans spending even one dime of New Hampshire taxpayer money to support investigations or enforcement actions targeting legal abortion care. because our abortion providers and healthcare workers are our neighbors, our friends, our family members. They are vital members of our communities, and they deserve our protection. They should not have to live in fear of arrest for just doing their jobs. They should not face lawsuits for practicing medicine legally in New Hampshire. They should not suffer professional retaliation for providing care that is lawful and ethical in our state. We will not let Texas dictate New Hampshire healthcare. We will not let Louisiana dictate New Hampshire healthcare. We will not let any state tell us what medical decisions are allowed. We are not going to let any other state override New Hampshire sovereignty. Here in the Granite State, we have always valued personal freedom, privacy, and limited government interference in our lives. The Shield Law doesn't just reflect those values, it builds a fortress-level protection for our people. This is about standing up for our values, our sovereignty, our patients, our providers, our fundamental right to govern ourselves. And at this moment, right now, anti-abortion extremists across the country are working overtime to spread fear, silence our providers, and to punish women for seeking health care. So New Hampshire has a choice. We can sit back and cross our fingers that maybe we won't be their next target. Or we can take action today. We can build protections. We can pass this Shield Law and make it absolutely clear that New Hampshire will not be intimidated. We will not be bullied, and we will not surrender our sovereignty to out-of-state extremists. I know which choice I'm making. I'm calling on my colleagues in the legislature, all of them, regardless of party, to support Senate Bill 551. Protecting our patients and providers from out-of-state attacks isn't a partisan issue. Ensuring that New Hampshire, not Texas, not Louisiana, not Washington, governs New Hampshire healthcare is a principle we should all be able to stand behind. This is our line in the sand. This is our shield. This is how we protect New Hampshire. Thank you so much for being here today, and together, let's get this Shield Law passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Altshuler. It's now my honor to introduce House Minority Leader Alexis Simpson.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Christina, and thank you to Reproductive Equity Now, to all of you for all that you do here in the State House and across the state of New Hampshire and throughout the region as well. REN's doing the critical work of fighting not just for access to abortion care, but for access to the full spectrum of reproductive health care, and we're grateful for their leadership and their persistence as well. I, of course, also want to thank my friend and colleague, Senator Altshuler, for leading on this incredibly important bill. As Senator Altshuler laid out so clearly, New Hampshire doesn't just need a Shield Law, New Hampshire deserves a Shield Law. I'm proud that New Hampshire is one of only 2 states with a Republican trifecta that has not passed any new abortion restrictions since Roe fell. I'm proud of the work that we've done to push back against attacks on our bodily autonomy and our reproductive freedom. But as Senator Altshuler said, defense is not enough. We must also be on the offense. A Shield Law would ensure that patients and providers in New Hampshire are protected from out-of-state politics, from interference, from intimidation, and from harassment. It would clearly affirm what we already know to be true. Abortion is legal in New Hampshire, and we're going to protect that. We're not going to allow politicians, prosecutors, or courts in other states to undermine the rights of patients and providers here. Right now, many providers are already navigating uncertainty as they work to deliver care. The possibility of out-of-state interference adds another layer of complexity to an already challenging environment. Protecting providers protects patients. When doctors and nurses and healthcare workers can practice safely and without fear of retaliation, patients can access care without delay, intimidation, or risk. That's what this bill is about creating clarity, stability, and safety for everyone involved. And we cannot talk about reproductive freedom without talking about economic freedom. The ability to finish school, to keep a job, or to leave an abusive relationship. We also can't talk about reproductive health care without highlighting the impact on the healthcare economy. Without clear legal protections, New Hampshire risks losing opportunities to recruit and retain skilled healthcare professionals. We already have a healthcare provider shortage here in New Hampshire, and we cannot afford to lose more providers because they fear prosecution or harassment for providing lawful care, especially not now. New Hampshire's in the middle of a healthcare crisis. Labor and delivery units are shutting down across the state. Clinics are struggling to stay open. Workforce shortages and rising out-of-pocket costs are making it harder for Granite Staters to get the care that they need. Passing a SHIELD law sends a clear message that New Hampshire is a place where patients can access lawful care, where providers can practice medicine without fear, and where our values should not be subject to out-of-state attacks. I urge my colleagues to stand with patients, stand with providers, and support this SHIELD law. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Simpson. And lastly, it's my honor to introduce Dr. Callie Sullivan.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. And thank you for the opportunity for me to be here. Thank you all for being here. My name is Dr. Callie Sullivan, and I am an OBGYN resident at Dartmouth-Hitchcock Medical Center. I was drawn to this work because OBGYNs have the privilege to participate in and help people through some of the most sensitive and vulnerable times in their lives. And I also wanted to serve underserved populations with empathy, respect, and advocacy. I began my residency after the fall of Roe, and throughout my training I have watched with growing concern as politicians across the country have sought to criminalize patients and providers simply for delivering evidence-based, lawful reproductive health care. These attacks are not abstract to me. They shape how I think about my future, my training, and my ability to care for patients. This uncertainty doesn't just create confusion, it creates real harm. It creates fear and delays that affect patient care, and it creates fear for me and my colleagues as we prepare to enter the healthcare workforce. We are training to provide compassionate, high-quality care, yet we're being asked to imagine a future where doing our jobs could expose us to legal risk, even when that care is lawful. I want to be very clear. It is difficult for me to do my job that I am dedicating my life to train to do. If I am constantly worried that providing legal, compassionate care could lead to criminalization. That fear follows providers into exam rooms, into training decisions, and into decisions about where to practice medicine. And as I consider where I want to practice after residency, I can't ignore the fact that every other New England state has taken steps to shield clinicians from out-of-state threats, except New Hampshire. In an increasingly hostile environment toward reproductive health care, that reality makes me pause. It makes me question whether staying in the Granite State is the right choice, even though I want to care for patients here. And that's the risk of inaction here. Without clear legal protections, New Hampshire risks losing providers who want to practice here, who want to serve these communities, but also who need certainty and safety to do so. A SHIELD law changes that. With a SHIELD law, I could enter the field knowing I wouldn't be arrested or lose my medical license simply for doing the job that I was trained to do. I could care for patients without fear and with confidence that New Hampshire stands behind its providers. Passing a SHIELD law tells clinicians like me that the Granite State has our back, and it values patient care over politics. That protection matters, and it's not just for providers, it matters for every patient who depends on the access to this care here in New Hampshire.